Hospitals around the country are dealing with rapidly increasing flu cases over the past few weeks. With more and more people getting the flu this winter, should there be an increase in the number of sick days to stop the spread of infection? The Irish Congress of Trade Unions says paid sick leave is the best way to stop the spread of illness, but columnist Brenda Power argues that to stop the spread of flu, you don't need 10 days of sick leave, just work at home. For more on this, I'm joined by Brenda Power herself, columnist for the Sunday Times and the Irish Daily Mail, and by Dr Laura Bambrick, Head of Social Policy and Employment Affairs at the Irish Congress of Trade Unions. Good morning and welcome to you both. Brenda, what you're saying, what you're writing is probably not music to the ears of those who are looking forward to more sick days.
And you know what, Pat? I was actually staggered to see that there is a proposal on the table that the number of sick days, paid sick days, that should be made available by employers should be increased to 10 days a year. And I suppose as a self-employed person who has probably not taken 10 sick days in my entire working life, I find that mind-boggling. But most of all, the real reason that I have an issue with this is because 5 years ago, prior to the pandemic, the entitlement was 3 days. Then the pandemic struck and all manner of professions right across the board discovered that they could actually facilitate working from home. Not something really that was ever within our ken up to then, but suddenly it was manageable. And so I suppose that's where I'm coming from, really. Why on earth are we increasing the number of sick days and the attendant burden that is going to put on small employers if the facility to work from home remains there? Something like 97% of public servants now have hybrid working. That means they're capable of working from home 2 to 3 days a week. Yet we want to increase the level of sick pay. And Pat, you know as well as I do, human nature being what it is, if you tell people they can take 10 sick days a year, they are going to take it. Again, like most self-employed people, I've been staggered to hear, particularly in the public sector, colleagues or friends say, I have a few sick days left to take. I have a sick day here and I'll take a sick day there. It beggars belief.
Yeah, the expression, have you taken your sick days yet, is, I'm told, a common conversation in areas of the public service.
So I believe, yes.
Well, it's an entitlement to time off, whether you're sick or not. It tends to be the attitude. By the way, just on the business of being freelance and, working as someone who doesn't have a guaranteed salary, pensions, etc., I have noted with people like yourself, people like myself, barristers and so on, people who earn a crust by dint of their own labours and nobody else's, they tend to get sick at Christmas when nothing's doing. Have you noticed that? Or when they stop working, they get sick.
Yeah. And I believe, and again, maybe this is a myth, but I believe that in the public sector, if you get sick on your holidays, you can claim that time back. I mean, it's a completely unreal scenario, I suppose, to those of us for whom a day off means a day's less pay.
By the way, I've been told that that's in every sector, not just in the public sector, that in the private sector, if you get sick while you're on holiday, that you can claim those days back because your holidays are supposed to be for enjoying yourself.
It's fantastic. But I suppose my main point was when we have increased facilities for working from home, and you see, I saw too, and Dr. Bambrick's argument was that, well, this will lead to less loss of labour, less diminution of productivity because people we won't be in the workplace spreading infection. I have no doubt, Pat, that if that was the case, employers would be embracing this proposal with both hands.
Yeah, but it's going to cost them. That's probably why they're objecting. Laura, the argument for increasing from 7 to 10 days when, in fact, you could soldier on working from home.
Okay, so there's a lot to unpack there. So if we just deal with the sick pay, the rollout of the sick pay. So sick pay was the agreement to introduce a minimum amount of sick pay was introduced coming out of COVID because it was recognised that Ireland is one of only 3 countries across the EU 27 that doesn't require employers to continue to pay workers' wages for a minimum amount of time if they're too sick or too injured to work. So it was recognised as part of the pandemic dividend that government would increase increased job quality for low-pay essential workers. You know, those people that kept our supermarkets running, those people that delivered our parcels, emptied our bins, those people that can't work remotely. And that's the thing. We have to remember there was over 1 million people on the PUP because they weren't doing jobs that could be done remotely. But part of the plan, when it was agreed that we would introduce this minimum number of sick days that all employers had to provide for their employees, it was agreed that it would be done over 4 years. It would be gradually rolled out to make it easier for those SMEs to adopt their payroll for it. So in year 1, it was up to 3 sick days. In year 2, 5. And this being year 3, it should have been from the 1st of January, it should have been 7. And from next year, year 4, up to 10 days going forward. Now, from the summer, there was a call to have a review to see what the impact would be. That review has been done and has been sitting on the Minister for Enterprise Debt since before the election.
Do you know what the review says, by the way?
Well, we were part of the review, but the review hasn't been published. But we know that, as I said, looking across the rest of Europe, up the road in Northern Ireland, across in the UK, this is something that is standard practice, that employers, because workers get sick, it's a fact of life. But I'm not here to defend the indefensible. We do know that there are people that take advantage. And so there are safeguards in the scheme there to prevent that. First of all, with the statutory sick pay scheme, it has to be medically certified. So you have to get that GP note. So you have to find a GP. That's going to be the first barrier. But when you do, you're going to have to pay out the 50, 60, 70 euros for that before you get your sick pay. And also, you will only get 70% of your daily pay. Now, there aren't many people that can afford a 30% cut in their wages. So they are real incentives not to do it.
Okay, you're saying that by the time you pay for the GP, which is out of your after-tax income, and then you're only getting 70% of your standard income.
Which is taxable.
You do the sum and you figure maybe it's not worth malingering, I'll soldier on.
I will soldier on. And like the point that Brenda is making about you using remote work, well, first of all, you shouldn't be working, whether it's remotely or in person, when you're sick. However, any of us who have had the flu will know there are days when you can't lift your head off the pillow, but there are other days, like we experience in COVID, where you're still contagious, but you have maybe a bit of a head cold, but you can function. And absolutely, in those cases, remote working should be used that you can continue on with your job. I mean, the people that feel the impact from people that misuse sick pay are other workers. I mean, we've all been in the supermarkets over the last few days and know the difficulty of getting served at a till because the girls are under pressure, because their colleagues are out sick, because, of course, they're working in those publicly facing jobs where they're dealing with people coughing and spluttering as they're handing over the card to pay, so they're more likely to get sick. But if one of the colleagues is misusing that, it's other workers that are carrying the can. So it can be a real problem for industrial workplace peace.
Okay, I want to
unions are often the biggest protector of sick pay.
I want to go back to Brenda on this. The whole idea that there are safeguards there, that you do the sums, and unless you're exceptionally highly paid and the 70% income is quite nice, thank you very much, even after tax, and the doctor's fee is well affordable from your after-tax income, but otherwise it doesn't pay you to get a GP cert for a couple of days off.
Well, all I would say to that is that if employers believed that that was the deterrent that Laura suggests it is, then they wouldn't be lobbying so fiercely to resist the increase to 10 days. And just coming back to Laura's point, which I completely take about people, public facing jobs, and people who cannot possibly work from home. It would seem to me, Pat, that when you give a kind of a universal benefit like 10 days, it's much like not means testing benefits. It's like universal credits. Why not try and target it to the people who genuinely need it, rather than letting people avail of it who can well afford to pay the GP's fee and take a few days holidays?
I'm looking at some of the texts. I've had to pull over to express my disgust at what I'm listening to. Does Brenda not realise that people actually do physical work? I work in telecoms. I've been non-stop since before the storms. Fatigue, exposure to weather and stress are a factor that people who work from home might not understand.
And that's what I've just said, that people who can work from home, I suppose perhaps what I'm saying is that their requests for time off for sick leave should be scrutinised a little bit more closely.
Now, another one from Carrick on Shannon. SMEs pay exorbitant rates for employer PRSI for each employee that's used to cover sick pay through social welfare payments. Now employers pay sick pay, but PRSI is still 11.5% on each employee. Far too many costs are being imposed on the employer. That's from Conor Marr in the Oarsman in Carrick on Shannon. Crazy idea about sick days. They're just used as extra holidays when I was in the public sector. Happy to pay my taxes, but so tired of the entitled waste of public money when there is such hardship in the country. I'm 64, a self-employed chainsaw sculptor, so it's a pretty physical job. If I don't work, I'm not earning. There's a saying in the chainsaw carving community, carve or starve. Sick days, you must be joking in our case. That's from Will. It's an absolute joke. With paid sick leave, increasing minimum wage, I have to adjust all the prices in my bar and restaurant yet again. Why do we pay PRSI? Another one, the sick pay argument about working from home only relates to office workers. I work in retail. How does Brenda suggest I work from home when sick? Also, if someone is sick, they're generally staying away from work because they're physically struggling to do the day-to-day tasks. They're not staying away because they don't want to infect somebody else. Well, that altruism we suspect may not exist to people staying out of the office because they don't want to infect their colleagues. It's probably because they're minding themselves. Anyway, Laura, what do you say to that argument about the PRSI? It's heavy enough on employers and, it should be covering the sick pay, not the employer themselves. What is pay-related social insurance for?
Okay, so as I explained earlier, that we were one of the last countries to introduce statutory sick pay, a requirement on employers to pay for the first period of sickness. And how it works in the rest of Europe is employers pay for a minimum amount of time. So if we look at Germany, Belgium, France, Austria, they pay for the first 6 weeks over the year of sick pay, and they cover 100%. And then if you're still sick, because it's also injury as well, so if you're working in hospitality and you break your leg, obviously you're not going to be able to work. So if you exhaust your right to sick pay from your employer, that's when you get illness benefit that is paid out of social insurance.
Are you seriously suggesting that small employers would
explaining how it works elsewhere?
Yeah, but you're comparing us to Europe and saying we are the laggards. But if you're suggesting that small employers would have to carry 6 weeks of sick pay before the state stepped in, I'm sure it would not fly.
It would not fly, and that's why there has been a gradual rollout of 10 days. We will still have the stingiest statutory sick pay in Europe. But these things, the likes of Germany, the likes of France, Austria, they didn't wake up one morning and introduce 6 weeks sick pay. This has been built over decades long. So you don't put the pressure. I mean, we're in the business of protecting jobs. So we don't want to see any employer go to the wall. And there is no ask on us that employers would pay 6 weeks.
There might be an argument, and I'm only throwing this in there, there might be an argument that the work ethic is a bit more robust in Germany than it might be here.
Well, it's not just Germany, it's the rest of Europe. So it's the Mediterranean. So if we're going to fall into national stereotypes, it's down in the Mediterranean. It's not the Protestant work ethic.
So do the Italians have something like 6 weeks sick leave?
It's 6 6 weeks sick pay. The Italian system is more difficult to do because it's based on different professions and different lengths of service as well. But the real reason why we are such a laggard, it's not because government don't care or employers don't care or unions haven't demanded it sooner. It's because Ireland has only very recently become an industrial country. We're only talking about 50 or 60 years when most of us weren't earning our wages off the land and weren't mostly self-employed. And only very recently where we've become a wealthy country.
Okay. Well,
so
I want to go back to...
That's why we're starting to have these new employer rights.
Final words from you, Brenda, on this?
I would just say, I hear what Laura's saying, and she's basically saying that this is to the advantage of employers as well as employees. All I would say is if that was the case, employers would be embracing the prospect of 10 days sick pay, and they're not. They're fiercely resisting it because they said it'll put them out of business, small and medium enterprises. And I mean, again, I'll come back to my original point, human nature being what it is. If you tell people they can take 10 sick days a year, they are going to take it.
All right, on that note, Brenda Power, columnist with the Sunday Times and the Irish Daily Mail, and Dr Laura Bambrick, Head of Social Policy and Employment Affairs at ICTU. Thank you both very much for joining us.